Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Flag. I'm your host, Lukas Wacker, and with me, as always, we have Kyle Cushman. And when we thought that there was going to be no news for this episode, they go against the grain, as they like to say. And we've got a bunch of different things to talk about today, some that are personal to me. We'll get into that in a little bit. And we also have the 2021 Truck Series calendar revealed this morning as well before we record here, so we can discuss that. And also, NASCAR is testing their next-gen car over the past couple of days at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We will discuss that and everything that has happened with the news and the press releases that have come out since then, so we'll discuss that as well. But first off, before we get into that, how you doing today, Kyle, after a busy couple of days for ourselves outside of this show?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm very much looking forward to this show because I wasn't expecting a ton of news going into this one, so I thought we were going to have to get creative. Apparently not, and I cannot wait to hear you go off on JGR because, oh boy, is that going to be a gem of a segment. But yes, I'm doing well. I know you're doing less so just because of the crew chief news. And I cannot wait to get to that later on as well. Obviously, we'll talk about it later on, but there was some worry that maybe Canada would be left out of the NASCAR schedules going into the season. Thankfully, that is not the case, so we don't have to have that rant for this.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
We got a bit of a break on that one. That's the only bright spot for my week, man. I got to tell you right now. On the motorsport side of things, it's been doom and gloom since the news that broke on Tuesday, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But before we get into all that, Kyle, we can talk about the Truck Series schedule, the last of the three top flights of series in NASCAR. Obviously, the Cup Series was released about a month ago, 3 weeks ago or something like that. And then Xfinity has been – no, Cup has been released for longer than that. Like a month
and a half, 2 months. And then Xfinity's been about a month. 3-4 weeks.
They've done it really nice so that when we seem to have an off week here with news,
almost
we
like
can
that's
talk about it at
intentional.
length. It's like they're listening.
Yeah.
If you are listening, NASCAR, we appreciate it so that we can discuss, have at least a 1 hour show for the Thursday episode. But the Truck Series schedule, some shakeups that we may not have seen coming. Before the Truck Series schedule was announced this morning, it was widely rumored and then confirmed by Eldora Speedway that they will not be on the Truck Series calendar for next season. Obviously, they were the inaugural dirt event to bring dirt back into NASCAR. And dirt's still going to be in NASCAR prominently in 2021.
Even more so.
Especially in this series, but just not going to be at Eldora, which is an unfortunate absence for the calendar, I'd say. I mean, I love the Eldora race. I think it's just a great spectacle.
Who didn't?
Tony Stewart and his entire team over there at Eldora do a great job promoting it, and they had a great system of the heat races, and then leading up to the main event, it was just a spectacular thing to watch. So unfortunate that Eldora will not be on the calendar, but we will still have dirt events, which we will talk about as well. So that's kind of the thing that led up to the Truck Series announcement today, and then we found out the full thing this morning as well. So we'll start it off here with Daytona as per usual. That's sticking the same. I don't imagine that's going to change anytime soon.
You better not.
Well, at the beginning of the year, we say that there was rumors that they may move it, but for right now, it is staying as the opening event for the NASCAR series. Then we've got Homestead Miami Speedway, the thing that we've discussed on this show on both calendars. Miami, they're sticking in the state of Florida for the opening 2 weekends of the season. Then we go out west for one race for the Truck Series to Las Vegas. That hasn't changed. I really wish they would go to Fontana again. I think those races were always spectacular for the Truck Series, but
and they
that
won't
is not
be
the case
for the final time at the Speedway version of it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Thanks for that, Kyle.
I'm sorry. Hey, I feel like that's important to note because when it goes to the short track, I got to imagine with all the dollars going into it, all three series will go there.
I hope so. They better not be tearing down my beloved Auto Club just to have the Cup Series race go there. I better see all three out there on the West Coast. And then we get into the first big change, I guess, Kyle. We've got the Bristol Dirt for the Truck Series. The Xfinity Series is not going to the Bristol Dirt, but the Cup Series and the Truck Series will be there on the Saturday weekend or the weekend of March 27th and 28th for those two series. So this is kind of a replacement, I guess, for Eldora, and then we'll talk about the other one that was added as well later on. But it's widely anticipated that this was going to be on the calendar for the Truck Series just because they have had dirt in the past with Eldora. So it makes sense that they would put the Truck Series with the Cup Series in a inaugural Bristol Dirt weekend, Kyle.
Yeah, this one made sense. And when it was announced that Xfinity wouldn't be going to the Bristol Dirt race, it seemed likely that at least the Truck Series would be going with them, because when you look at it, putting that much effort into one weekend for what, at least before this, was going to be just one race just didn't make sense, because the Cup race is just kind of an unknown commodity going in there. And putting that much effort into one weekend to drastically change a racetrack and only have one NASCAR Touring Series go there seems strange. So yeah, it seemed likely that the Truck Series would go there, and they are. So that's nice to see. And those are guys that have more experience running the dirt, so maybe that'll be a cleaner, more predictable to a certain extent experience than the Cup Series, which is a complete question mark. But I wonder if they'll place some rules on that Truck Series event and not allow anybody running in the Cup Series race to run in the Truck Series one, because you would assume that would give you an advantage going into the weekend. But who knows? We did see that at events this year, like the Daytona Road Course, which was a brand new venue with no practice or qualifying. Nobody could go down to a lower series running in the Cup Series or Xfinity and go and run that race to kind of get that extra experience. Maybe we see something like that for this event, which would then open up the door for maybe some more local or maybe some lesser known dirt racers to get involved, because of course we know plenty of names that come down from come down to the trucks from Cup and Xfinity when they went to Eldora. Maybe we get to see a different kind of outlook for that Bristol dirt race. But it's the one that made sense, and I think it's the one of kind of the new tracks that we expected to be on the Truck Series schedule. Because, yeah, as I mentioned, it just makes sense when you look at it from basically every single scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't make sense for them to put all this money and all this time into the Bristol Dirt and just have the Cup Series race on it. So we're going to get a bit of a tease on the Saturday to see what it kind of looks like with the Truck Series. I'm going to be definitely tuning in to see what kind of things we can expect for the Sunday race. It's going to be must-watch TV just to see if it is a fail or if it is a success. But they've had a hiatus this season with Dirt for the Truck Series. They didn't go to Eldora this past year due to COVID-19. So they're going back to the dirt. We're going back to the grassroots, I guess, or underneath the grass with the dirt roots racing. So it's going to be a fun thing to see if this experiment works. If it doesn't work, that thing better be off the calendar in 2022. I will just say that right out of the gate. If it doesn't,
I would be less mad
if
it doesn't work for the Truck Series, because the trucks only went to Bristol the one time, so that's okay from that perspective. But losing a Cup Series date for Bristol for dirt, we've talked about it plenty already. It's very questionable, to say the least. So yeah, it better be a banger of event for Cup. But I'm also expecting it to be maybe. I have just no clue what to expect for Cup. I expect it to be entertaining for Truck, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
That makes sense, yeah, because they just have a little bit more experience with it.
They've done the damn thing before. So.
Yeah, for many years. It's been around for quite a while, the Eldora Truck Race.
2013?
Yeah, I think it was,
the first time, so.
It's been a while that it's been on the calendar. It feels like just yesterday, though, that they were like, there's speculation that Eldora was going to be on the Truck Series calendar, and now it's already off, unfortunately. So then we move on to the next week here, Kyle. We've got Richmond, and then Kansas, Darlington, obviously, with the Cup Series going there twice next year. Then we've got the Truck Series going there only once. That's their only event there for the Truck Series at Darlington. Then we go on to COTA, the triple header for the 3 Series. An incredible weekend shaping up there for their inaugural stint in the top flight of motorsport or stock car racing at COTA. So I'm very, very excited for this one, Kyle. We knew it was coming for a while here. They announced that the Xfinity and Truck Series would partner the Cup Series that weekend, but nonetheless, it's going to be an exciting one. It's also going to be a doubleheader with the Xfinity and the Truck Series on that same weekend. So double the action on the Saturday, May 22nd, and then the Cup race follows suit the day after. So going to be an incredible weekend there for their inaugural stint at COTA.
Yeah, very, very excited for that weekend. Just quickly on Darlington, of course, last year we had the return to Darlington for the Truck Series, but it wasn't originally on the schedule. That was something that was kind of created because of COVID and the break there. So it's good to see that Darlington is back on the official kind of set in stone calendar for the Truck Series there.
It's unfortunate they're not doing the throwback weekend, though, because the trucks look so good in the throwback paint scheme.
Maybe they have their own, maybe.
No, they
something like
wouldn't.
that. I don't know. I can't.
Yeah,
imagine.
do it in Canada. We'll talk about that. They should do it in Canada that weekend. They should do the throwback weekend in Canada. That's a throwback.
But yeah, going ahead with things here, Coda's the big one because we got the taste of Darlington last year, so it's less flashy for it being back on the expected calendar, I'll say for now. But for Coda, that one's brand new for everybody, and that one's just such an exciting proposition here. It's great to see the Truck Series kind of expand the road course schedule as well as with everybody else. That's fun to see because for a long time, the Truck Series didn't even go to road courses. And then it's been kind of this slow kind of process to get them back involved with one. And then last year we saw the Daytona road course. Now this year we get to see it expanded pretty significantly here with Coda being added and another one, which we'll get to later on. So big fan of this decision. Going to such a premier facility like Coda, I think you do need to send everybody you got there essentially. And not only that, it also gives you 3 different races to kind of pull from and see what worked, what didn't, what series were entertaining, what wasn't, and then kind of look to apply things later on because hopefully this is a long-term thing between NASCAR and Coda. It's not just a one-off thing. I think that would be bad for both if it is just a one-off. So send all 3 there. Get 3 different races as a sample size to pull from in terms of what worked, what didn't, what needs to change, what needs to stay the same. And yeah, a big fan of this one and a big fan of the trucks going there as well.
They still don't know the format or the configuration for the layout. The layout. So we'll see if they go with the short version or the long version for the track. I'm still hoping for the short version personally, just so that it doesn't.
I think it's likely that it's a short version.
Yeah, I think it would make sense just from a broadcasting point of view.
They don't even go to the long version at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it makes sense to do the short version. It makes everything a little bit more compact and allows for more, I guess, tight racing throughout the entire event so that it doesn't get so strung out. So that's I guess the second big change for the 2021 schedule for the trucks. Then their usual suspects of Charlotte and Texas on the mile and a half will be returning to the circuit. And then we go on to Nashville Super Speedway, another return, I guess, for the Truck Series because they went there for many, many years when the Cup Series didn't, the Xfinity and the then Nationwide Series and the Truck Series, whatever it was called back then. They've had so many names, but this is a nice addition. I guess it makes sense that they're going to go back for all 3 series to Nashville Super Speedway. Still crossing our fingers for Nashville Fairgrounds, but Nashville Super Speedway will have to do if they want to tap into that Nashville market. So they've had some decent races there in the past for the Truck Series. If I remember, they had some late restarts, and it was probably better than the Nationwide Series when they did race there. So hopefully they can bring that sort of magic back to that speedway. And it's just another less than a mile and a half track for the Truck Series as well. So similar in length to Darlington, I guess. So it's going to be
very different configuration, but yeah, similar.
Very
length.
Different. Yeah, and it's going to be a fun little race to watch as the NASCAR circuit returns to Nashville.
Yeah, and this is another track that they've gone to in the past. They're returning now. Last time they were here was twice in 2011. And so they have some former races to pull from. But again, you're going to the track for the first time in what will be 9 years when they return here. And I think it's important as well to a track like this even to go there with all 3 series, have 3 races there to see what works, what doesn't, get 3 races of sample size so that when you go there in the future, in the season following, you know what to potentially change, what to keep the same. It's the same for Coda there, even though Coda is brand new. You have some sample size and past races at Nashville, but I think it's important to have 3 different races there, especially given that that's a market that you haven't really tapped into all that much. And with the banquet supposed to be in Nashville, with IndyCar going to Nashville, it's a market that motorsports it seems to be growing in and they want to tap into. So yeah, send all 3 series there, get as many races as you can get over there, get as many people as you can to the track and see what works. But yeah, good to see it back on the schedule though. Looking back to, and we've talked about it a couple times already, but kind of the best years of the lower series when you look in the mid 2000s when they had a bunch of standalones in different venues and all that kind of stuff. Kind of cool for Xfinity and for the Truck Series to go back to a track that was formerly on the schedule with Cup also accompanying them now.
Yeah. Do you have the last 2 winners of Nashville there by any chance? I'm just curious.
I have seen them, yes.
Okay, can I guess?
Okay, so the most recent one, which would have been the second race
Fall
that
one.
season, who won that race?
Okay, I think it's Austin Dillon.
It is Austin Dillon.
And then the one before that's Kyle, because I know that was his inaugural truck series. Okay, I just wanted to test my knowledge there. I just want to see if I can remember that.
I also have the most recent truck series results from the not the next one that's new on the calendar, but the one after that, which is going to be tough for you to get.
Okay, I probably won't get that one. But speaking of those ones, we'll get onto those now, as Pocono is kind of that bridge gap between the two new additions, or one new addition and then one formerly returning back to the Truck Series calendar. We go to Knoxville Speedway, a second dirt race for the Truck Series.
Iowa isn't completely left off the calendar, I might add.
Yeah, I guess so. That's very true. So Knoxville is going to be maybe that new Iowa battleground for the NASCAR series. It's going to be a wild, wild race. They have obviously some great races on dirt there with the sprint cars. Kyle Larson has just ripped it around there so many times from highlight packs and everything that I've seen. So Knoxville's a very interesting one. It's a little bit longer than your typical dirt track, I'd say, in terms of visually from my perspective. I don't know exactly how long it is, but I believe it's longer than Eldora, and it's longer than Bristol, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong on that. And then Watkins Glen the weekend after that. So we can talk about these in bunches here, Kyle. Knoxville's a great addition to the Truck Series calendar. It was kind of rumored this morning before it was officially announced that it's going to be on the calendar, and sure enough, it was. It's a bold step for NASCAR. This is going to be another one-off weekend for the Truck Series, so they're getting the more one-off weekends from the two series above them. So what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I'm a big fan of it because I think it's a great opportunity to expand their market into Knoxville, and hopefully they can have some sprint car races on that same weekend as well, just to try and bring a lot of popularity to that area in Iowa.
Yeah, I understand why some people are upset about Eldora losing the spot, but I actually kind of love this because when you look at the dirt racing scene, Knoxville is kind of the cream of the crop for a lot of people. And so NASCAR going there for the Truck Series and still kind of maintaining that standalone kind of grassroots kind of feel event, I love this. I wouldn't mind seeing keeping Knoxville as the kind of the go-to truck dirt track would be cool, but I also don't hate the idea of kind of switching it up, going to a few different places and keeping the dirt track on the schedule, but switching where you go and kind of having a rotation of places. I think that would be cool, because going to Eldora every year, yeah, it's a cool event. It's a standalone. It's a unique event. It's always been cool. But after running the same track annually every single year, it starts to maybe lose its luster a little bit. So when you add something brand new in Knoxville and the history of Knoxville with dirt and the prestige that goes along with that track, I think that's a really cool event. I think it's also going to attract a lot of different drivers, whether that be Cup drivers, Xfinity drivers, or dirt guys from World of Outlaws or wherever it is. Mm-hmm. And maybe we see some cool, unique entries. I think that could be fun as well. So I'm actually a big fan of this one. Again, remains to be seen what the actual action is like, but we kind of understand why Eldora was dropped as well. Tony Stewart and NASCAR kind of conflicting this season with Tony Stewart's new series, NASCAR not knowing about it. And so NASCAR kind of going, okay, well, you go and do that. Okay, well, we'll go and give our Cup Series dirt track, which you've been trying to get for Eldora for forever, and we'll go give that to Bristol instead. And oh, by the way, we'll also go to the other fantastic dirt track for the Truck Series as well. So you kind of get it from like the politics side of things. But in terms of the schedule and the breakdown, I'm actually pretty excited for this. And yeah, Eldora being on there would have been cool, of course, but I kind of like mixing it up and going to Knoxville instead.
I totally agree. I would love to have kind of like that rotation, something similar to like an all-star race for the Truck Series in a way.
Yeah, like what
they could treat it like that.
Yeah, like what F1 used to do with the European Grand Prix, where they would go to where they would have a spot in the calendar reserved for a race in Europe, but they would go to multiple different places, and it would kind of be that one kind of fun track or race of the season where it would be a bunch of different spots. I think you could do something cool with that in the trucks and have a dirt spot in the schedules as a standalone by themselves, not like tied to a Bristol Dirt or anything like that.
Right.
And go to a few different places. I think that could be fun.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm really, really pumped for this one. It's going to be nice in that summer break, and then that's going to lead into a nice long summer break for the Truck Series as they get about a month off from July 9th to August 7th. So a nice long break for the Truck Series.
But importantly, second last race of the regular season.
That's true. Whoa, yeah. I didn't even realize that. Holy smokes. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great way to end the regular season for the Truck Series.
Second last.
No, I know, but that nice little two races here as they, for the regular season finale, they go back to Watkins Glen.
Yes. Oh, I'm such a big fan of this.
I mean, it's been a rough year for Watkins Glen, first off. Didn't have any races this year, so the fact that we're getting all three series back at the track next year, I mean, I'm a big fan of Watkins Glen. I think it's right on my top 5, if not in my top 5 tracks in the Cup Series. It's my favorite road course race. It's above the Roval just because it is a road course. It's built for that, and I've watched so many races on it. Watkins Glen is a gem, man. It's awesome. I love the track, and I am pumped to see a triple header weekend, a double header on the Saturday with the Xfinity Series, with the Truck Series, and then all leading up to a Chase Elliott win on the Sunday for the Cup Series. So that's going to be quite the weekend there at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, I love Watkins Glen. It's firmly in my top 5. It might even be top 3 for me right there. It might be number 3 for me behind Bristol and Daytona. I don't know. I'd have to write things out again, but I think it might be my number 3.
We might have to do that in the offseason.
We might have to do that again, yeah.
I'm going to write that down quickly so I don't forget about that.
That's a good idea.
We'll get the tier list out.
Oh, that's a good idea. See, boom. Look at us thinking on the show. But yeah.
On the fly, man. We got ideas just.
I love Watkins Glen so much. I already loved it with just the history of the track, how many great races have been there, so many great finishes. Just so many great races there. I got to try it out on iRacing as well and loved it there. So it's just a track that I'm a huge fan of, and getting 3 NASCAR races there instead of just the 2, the best. But
that'd be awesome.
We pulled back to Nashville's last races in 2011. Watkins Glen, last Truck Series race, the year 2000. Who won that race?
Oh man,
it's a known. The entire top 3 are known names, but the race winner for sure is. Okay.
I think of someone like Jack Sprague as someone that could come to mind there.
It's a very good guess.
Did Hornaday race around then? I think he might have been racing.
He was, but he was not in the top 3 here.
Damn, who could it come up? I think it could be a Cup guy. Damn. I feel like I've seen a highlight pack of this somewhere.
I just watched back like the last 10 laps of the race before the show. I'm not even gonna lie.
Shoot. Okay. Okay. Was it a Ford?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Was it a Roush truck?
2 of the top 3 were Roush trucks.
Oh. Man, you really put me on the spot here.
I know, this is a tough one. The 2000 Truck Series is pretty going back niche. Like
freaking year I was born, man. Like, come on. I know I've seen highlight packs of this. Greg Biffle.
That is correct. Bravo.
No way.
Greg Biffle in the number 50 truck. Won the championship that year. He finished first. Second in the number 99 Roush truck, Kurt Busch.
Jeff Burton. Oh, Kurt Busch. Okay, I'm thinking 99 with Jeff Burton. Sorry.
And number 3 in the number 7 Conley Silverado, the GOAT, Ron Fellows.
Oh, let's go. What a top 3.
Yeah, how about that for a top 3?
Oh, man.
And Ron Fellows almost got Kurt Busch for second place at the stripe there, too. He needed like one more caution to bunch things up and get back at it. But Ron Fellows started last, got back up to third. Not a bad race for him. But that's the last time
That's awesome.
we went to Watkins Glen, just for context here. And who knows, maybe Greg Biffle gets the one off in GMS again, and who knows?
Just put him in a truck, man. That would be awesome.
Greg Biffle going for back-to-back wins at Watkins Glen in the Truck Series.
I want to see some of these guys that don't run the trucks on these one-offs just get a ride somewhere.
Yeah.
I would, if you're thinking about it, if you're like someone like Kurt Busch, if this were to be his final full-time year or something like that this upcoming year, why not go out with a bang and then put him in a truck? It would be, what a great story it would be to see him in a KBM truck or something like that on that weekend. So
even other people, like, let's get James Hinchcliffe finally in one of these. Like, Alex Tagliani, of course, will probably be in KBM once again for at least a couple of these. Like, let's spice it up here. Just not Chase Elliott, because he'll mop the floor. So
I don't want to see Chase Elliott in any of the lower series on road courses. I'm sorry. He does it enough.
Unless
in the Cup
somebody
series.
beats him, and then, oh boy.
I don't need him lapping the field on a road course in the truck. So, but nonetheless, great end to the regular season for the truck series here.
Two races at the end of the year that are essentially wild cards where, who knows, maybe somebody unique
you
can go out, win Knoxville, make their way into the playoffs, and then all of a sudden Watkins Glen, same kind of thing where maybe somebody in maybe mid-tier equipment can go out and have a fantastic day. Like, look this season, back to the Daytona road course, and Rafael Lessard had a pretty mediocre season, but he was in contention for the lead quite a bit at the Daytona road course. And if he won that race, would have completely blown up the playoff picture there. So
yeah.
And you've got two road courses in the regular season there where that can happen. And then you've got the dirt race, of course. And then you get to the first
four wild cards, really.
And,
four wild cards for this series in a very compact schedule, only 22 races. So just think about that. Four of the, I guess, how many do they have in the playoffs? Eight? Seven? Yeah, seven.
Yes, seven, because championship race.
Right. So, I mean, that's a lot of races that are up in the air for these guys that they don't know much about. Add Nashville to that equation as well.
And not a lot of time to struggle in the regular season.
No, this is very compact, and they've got a long month to try and prepare themselves for Watkins Glen. And
lots of sim time.
Lots of sim time on iRacing, and I'm sure it'll be quite the race when they return there to Watkins Glen. So those are the two big talking points for the truck series calendar for 2021. Then we move on to the playoff opener at Gateway, staying on the calendar as well. So that's a great move. It was a great race earlier this season and had some controversy in it as well. So I'm really happy to see Gateway back. I would love to see some other series go there as well. Hopefully that is in the future plans for NASCAR. Then we get on to a personal favorite of ours. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is returning to the Truck Series calendar. Obviously, with COVID-19 restrictions, they have not been able to cross the border this year. So hopefully by the time September 5th rolls around, or that weekend, they can bring the haulers up north of the border and they can race at this great racetrack. Obviously, it's not Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, but it is.
It's good in its own right,
nonetheless. So it's provided some great races over its time on the Truck Series calendar. Very iconic last lap moves and spins and everything else, some fights. I mean, it's just been an incredible race when they've been on there. So really, really pumped to see them back. We obviously have IndyCar returning tentatively to Toronto for the GP next year in the summertime. So hopefully this is a sign of good things to come, that they still haven't forgotten about us up here. And this is a great move. We're going to be biased here. This is a great move for us, and hopefully they'll put it on national television for us to watch.
They usually do. It's usually on TSN.
Hopefully. We'll see if TSN can put it on for the whole season, maybe. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That would be great. But Canadian Tire Motorsports Park on September 5th is back on the Truck Series calendar.
Absolutely love it. And not just that, also Gateway means two standalone events for the Truck Series to begin the playoffs as per usual, which is fantastic. I love that so much about this first round, because you get a unique track in Gateway, then you go to a road course, and then you finish it obviously with Bristol, which is just a round for starters. But also it gives you that Truck Series feel that you kind of don't necessarily get as much throughout regular seasons or at all in this Xfinity series. It's different. And that's something that I think a lot of people want out of the lower series. They want it to be different. They don't want it to be the same schedule as the Cup Series and go to the same places just with different people and different cars. We want to see different tracks. We want to see experiments that could potentially work for the Cup Series down the road. And having that first round so different as they have in the past is fantastic. And I can't wait to see that going into next season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's going to be a wild Truck Series calendar. I mean, in my opinion, it probably takes the best calendar of the 3 series. I'm going to be totally honest. In terms of like the variety that it has and the limited 2-stop races that they have throughout the season, it's tremendous in that regard. They've done a phenomenal job. Phoenix, yet again, staying as the one-off race for the Truck Series as well. That's key for their
Do they go anywhere finale. Twice?
Bristol, I guess, technically.
Vegas twice because of the playoff race and then the early season one. Yeah. Bristol I don't count because it's the dirt one, but
that's it.
Other than that, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, just replace the Vegas race with California Truck Series, and you would have been fine. You would have been fine, but nonetheless, Vegas does some great truck races as well. So, I mean, Vegas, the Truck Series just delivers basically every time, just because of their package is just stupendous.
Just so good.
But what a great first round there. Gateway, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and Bristol on the oval, with no dirt, no BS. We've got Bristol on the actual high banks, and couldn't be more thrilled to see Bristol right back where it should be with no dirt on its surface, September 16th.
So, had to get one final jab in.
I'm not letting that go, man. Until it proves me wrong, I'm going to stay down. It keeps my expectations low, so if they exceed them, then it's always a good thing. So we move on to the, I guess, the penultimate round there for the Truck Series to end their calendar. We've got Las Vegas, Talladega, and Martinsville. So that's pretty much intact from this past year. So nothing really to write home about there. And then ending the season on November 5th, Friday night at Phoenix. So it's going to be a wild end to the season there. 2 short tracks, restrictor plate or super speedway track. Do they have restrictor plates in the trucks?
I don't know. So.
Then I'm going to call it a restrictor plate. Don't put that one in the jar. I'm going to say that.
I think it's just Cup, no?
I think
that have the weird different stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'll let that one slide.
Perfect. All right. I don't know you another buck in the jar, but
thank God we're not. We'll keep track of that for next season.
For sure. That'd be great. It's gonna
or
be
not.
A wild season too. How much money do we want to lose next year? But a great playoffs though. I couldn't be happier with that. Great mix. 1 road course, 2 short tracks, 1.5 miles, a super speedway, restrictor plate, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then Gateway and Phoenix are kind of comparable in terms of the slower kind of corners and a little bit of a longer straightaway. Yeah, exactly. So great variety there. They've nailed it. They've knocked this one out of the park. This one's going to get a 9.5 out of 10 from me. I'm going to be straight up. I love this calendar. They've just matched it where they've needed to, and they've gone to different places when they needed to, and they have a nice long break for the guys as well. So and they're going down a race. I'm not too upset with anything that's really off the calendar as well. So, I mean, I think they really did a great job of this. Just quickly before you can tell us what's missing from the changes, the only double headers with the Xfinity Series for the season, as I mentioned before, was Coda and Watkins Glen. But adding to that, we have the Atlanta race earlier in the season, Texas right there on June 12th, and then Talladega and Martinsville to end the season as well. So that's quite the stretch there at the end. I think the broadcasting rights as well, with Fox taking that in the entire season, allows them to be a little bit more flexible on what tracks they want to go to throughout the year, so they don't have to have the same broadcasting team go to 3 different facilities. So it's a great move by NASCAR here. They nailed the calendar, and I'm glad this one took the longest because I think they ended it on a positive note with this one. So, what do we got for changes from the schedule that was meant to be in place this season to next season, Kyle?
I also agree with the 9.5 grade. I can't give it quite the 10 just because you need to completely blow me away. But I don't think you can really ask for much more. This is as good of a schedule as you can basically ask for. But tracks losing either entirely from the Truck Series schedule originally in 2020 or losing a date. We have Dover off the schedule. We have Texas losing their second date. Obviously, Dover, the switch they had there is for Nashville. because it's owned by the same people. Texas, too, loses the date, replaced by COTA for the Texas date. Iowa comes off the schedule, which is,
the
one that you can point to and go, you're dropping down a race in the schedule. You couldn't have maybe gone there once or something like that. Maybe go to Knoxville and Iowa close together or something like that. I don't know, but that's a tough one.
Fair
there. Chicagoland, as we knew, was also coming off the schedule entirely. Would have been nice to see one oval other than Gateway be like a standalone, go to somewhere different. That's a bit unfortunate. Also, Kentucky in that group there of the kind of cookie cutters losing a date. Eldora loses its date for Knoxville and the dirt, which we talked about. Kind of sucks, but it's also kind of fun to go to Knoxville instead.
I'm 50-50 on it. If Knoxville delivers, then I'm like, okay. But at least we're seeing Eldora on the SRX series as well. So that's a bit of a bright spot. It's not gone forever.
Heartbreaker, exactly. And finally, Michigan off the Truck Series schedule, which...
They have good races.
They have good races at Michigan, so that one I'm a bit confused about.
That's the only one that has good races at Michigan.
Because it's honestly kind of like a super speedway for it.
Exactly. They have some good finishes there at Michigan.
Even this year was a great race at Michigan for the Truck Series. So that one I'm not huge about, but hey,
they could have put that one in there.
I can't complain.
They could have put that one in there. I mean, I wouldn't have been upset if they kept Michigan on there because – I mean, I would much rather have Michigan in there than Pocono for the trucks, right? Like, it just makes sense in that respect.
And I understand why they have to go to Pocono, contracts and everything like that. But given how crammed that weekend is with the 2 Cup races, because they're doing the doubleheader and Xfinity there.
It's a lot.
Lose Pocono, bring back Michigan.
Yeah.
Do something like that. And
I've got my own sticking points with Pocono. Like the nickname in itself drives me nuts, but the tricky triangle, good Lord.
I think maybe a factor of it as well is finishing the regular season with Knoxville and Watkins Glen and having those 2 quote-unquote wild cards to finish the regular season versus Michigan, which is more of a straightforward race. I think NASCAR really likes having the regular season finale be something where you don't necessarily know what'll happen in terms of somebody maybe going out and winning a race that's behind the cutoff line. So you have that in Knoxville and Watkins Glen. So maybe that factors in. But yeah, don't think we say this too often, but would have liked to see Michigan on the schedule for this one.
I never thought I'd say that, but
and then of course to go with that, the 3 standalone events for the Truck Series: Knoxville, Gateway, CTMP.
Yeah. That's pretty much right there in a row, except for Watkins Glen. But I'm happy with a triple header at Watkins Glen. I don't need a standalone race there.
So it works.
Best of both worlds there. It's going to be a fabulous Truck Series season because we already know the competition level is super, super high, and the playoff battle is just going to be absolutely nuts as the season rolls down. So, I mean, like I said, 9.5 out of 10 for myself. This is the happiest I've ever seen for happiest I've ever been for a Truck Series calendar, at least that I can remember anyway. So
it's a really good
bright spot. It's a really great calendar, and I'm happy that they're going to a lot of different racetracks. Many 2 times, except for Las Vegas and I guess Bristol, even though it's a different layout. Yeah. Technically, they're going to the same facility, just a different type of experience at the track.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how that all plays out next season, but definitely some very high spots and not many low lights in my opinion. They've got
for sure.
Obviously, they would have loved to see Iowa or I would have loved to see Chicagoland kind of thing. Like just those kind of tracks, I think deserve a place on the calendar. But for what we already knew coming into this was kind of like the best case scenario in terms of what the calendar could be. So any final thoughts there on the Truck Series calendar? Yeah,
for sure. I think the main thing was going into things, our hopes were just to keep Gateway, keep CTMP, keep the unique dirt race, and then just kind of see what else comes. And the changes they've made are just fantastic. When you look at what you're losing versus what you're gaining a lot more unique tracks to the schedule, diversity to the schedule, and just overall makes it a much more exciting week-to-week thing. And going down to 22 instead of 23 isn't that big of a deal either. And it just kind of adds to the importance of the regular season as well, which is
really trims that up.
Something that I think a lot of people complain about for the Cup Series. Just look at what happened this year with Kevin Harvick, and even almost Denny Hamlin as well. really matters in the Truck Series. If you start the season poor, you basically have to win a race. And we saw it this year with Johnny Sauter and Stuart Friesen, both pretty poor starts to the season. Two guys that were contenders, like Stuart Friesen was in the championship for last year. Both guys missed the playoffs because they started the season poor and didn't win a race. So big fan of what Truck Series is doing here. Once again, seems to be remaining one of, if not the most exciting series in NASCAR, because week in, week out entertainment, so many different teams that can win, and now we have a diverse schedule. So big fan of everything that the Truck Series is doing right now.
Yeah, great personalities, great competition, and a great schedule can lead to great things for next year. Exactly. I mean, I'm stoked for next season already on that regard for the Truck Series. So we'll see if how it all goes next year. I mean, I'm looking forward to that playoff cut line battle. I'm sure it's going to go right down to the wire. There's definitely the possibility that we could have 10 different winners next year leading into that race just because of all the wild cards. So I'm very, very excited, and we'll obviously talk about that all in 2021, week in and week out when they have their races, 22 weekends of the year. We will be talking about the Truck Series on a regular basis. So that does it for the Truck Series calendar, Kyle. Great schedule. We can move on to quickly the broadcasting side of things. Unfortunate. Once again, a bit of a sad note.
Yeah.
Matt Yocum, a Fox mainstay as a pit reporter for 20 seasons for the network, is leaving or has been let go of his duties. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but nonetheless, he's not going to be returning to Fox in 2021. He's done 320 Cup Series races and countless Xfinity trucks, IMSA, and short track events over his career. He's been incredible on pit road, very similar to Jamie Little in terms of how much I love and respect each of them. So this is a tough one. Fox has just lost a couple of people over the past 5-10 years. Dick Berggren was a great one. I loved Dick Berggren as a pit reporter, and he's been gone for quite some time. Obviously, the late Steve Burns, we love him, and he's sorely missed. And then Matt Yocum is one that I don't understand what they're doing, if this is just cost saving or what, but Matt Yocum does not deserve to be out of a job for 2021 if he does not get re-upped by NBC or could not find a job elsewhere, because he does a masterful job for broadcasting. And when I look at what they've got now for next season for pit reporters, I'm not too jazzed about it. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not a big fan of Regan Smith as a pit reporter, and I don't think that he should be in a role. He should stick to the studio space, and Matt Yocum should stick to pit road because that's what they were trained to do, and it just does not fit Regan Smith. If he's taking that more senior role, Matt Yocum should not be at the expense of that. So I just quickly your thoughts on this, Kyle, because it's obviously another tough break and a tough loss for the NASCAR broadcasting side of things. Yeah,
couldn't agree more. And yeah, Yocum's a guy that's literally been around in NASCAR our entire lifetime. Exactly. Like, this is a questionable decision to say the least, especially if they don't add somebody else to that pit reporting stable that they got there. Jamie Little obviously is one of the best, and if they ever get rid of her, all the uproar. And for her role's even expanding next year, which is great to see, which we talked about.
She doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Yeah, she won't be going anywhere anytime soon. But the other ones in that stable leave a little bit to be desired, especially when Yocum's on the out and Alan Cavana isn't even getting bumped up to Cup or anything like that. Like, if somebody like Matt Yocum is being let go, I would have expected Alan Cavana to kind of get bumped up to Cup and be like, okay, we've had you last year in trucks, was fantastic there. Let's move you up to the big shot. So what would it be? Jamie Little, Regan Smith, and Vince Welch are the three that they have right now. Maybe like Dylan Welch or something is added to that.
Dylan Welch is in NBC. He does NBC stuff.
So there you go. So
that's the three that I can think of right now.
That's the three that they have right now. Remains to be seen if they add somebody else, but it just leaves a little bit to be desired. I'm
going to be frank. A lot, in my opinion, a lot to be desired. Just Vince Welch does a great job as a pit reporter. I think that role suits him well, much better than play-by-play. Yeah, exactly. So those two, Jamie Little and Vince Welch, I totally agree that they should stay in their current roles. But Mac, they better be replacing Matt Yocum with someone very good, because if Regan Smith is taking that role, I'm not even remotely a fan of that at all. I mean, he's just a super sub to me. He's not a broadcaster. It's just all these guys that retired at the right time and didn't get a full-time ride are getting these broadcasting spots. And it's very unfortunate that they're getting these big kind of senior raises, I guess. And the guys that do this for a living and didn't have a previous career are on the outs, and that's very, very unfortunate. And I bet if you did a poll, if Jeff Gluck did a poll, that if you had the choice between Matt Yocum and Regan Smith, that would be a very high percentage one way rather than the other. I don't think it would be even close. If it is, then I could be reading this entire situation wrong. But
I don't think you are.
I don't think I am either. So it's a very unfortunate here for Matt Yocum. I hope he goes to NBC. I'm going to be straight up. I hope he ends up over there and takes over for someone like Parker Klickerman or something like that, so that we get pit reporters doing pit reporter jobs. I think that's
well.
A huge
I hope
thing.
Klickerman gets a ride somewhere first off, because he's
go to a drive. That's what I'm saying. Like, if he doesn't have to be a pit reporter. He can go somewhere else and drive. Like, if he wants to drive on such a regular basis, and he's always making jokes about it, where man, I just got out of the truck, it wasn't that great, or whatever like that, ran 15th, but I digress. We can move on, like, kind of thing. Go trucks full time or something like that. Figure something out. I know it's not as simple as what I'm saying, but Matt Yocum deserves a place compared to some of the guys that haven't been able to find a ride, and they're just taking the broadcasting spots because they're a name in the industry, essentially.
And yeah, even excluding what's going on at NBC or anything like that, where Yocum could potentially land, at Fox, he was not the guy to let go. Jamie Little staying around. Matt Yocum should be staying around. And yeah, as you mentioned there, Vince Welch, of the rest of them, I would pick as my guy as well. I just don't really get the kind of the reason why to stick with Regan Smith. He's also got a questionable social media presence as well. So do you really want to keep that around as well? And to lose Alan, like, if the decision was to let go of Matt Yocum and bring up Alan Cavana, that's a different situation, because then you're letting somebody go who's been around for forever, and maybe trying to open up a new era with Clint Boyer coming into booth, and then bringing in a new quote unquote senior pit reporter and Alan Cavana. Then that would maybe make some sense. You're trying to go a different direction with the broadcast. But at least right now, what it seems is you're bringing Boyer into the booth, and you're cutting costs by letting Cavana go and by letting Yocum go.
Yeah, if that's the case, that's very, very unfortunate. I don't know if I would. It's very tough, because I love Boyer in the booth, but if it comes at the expense of Alan Cavana and Matt Yocum, that's a tough one. I mean, I would probably rather side with the pit reporters on this one than get Boyer in the booth, to be honest. Because
I'll take two good guys over one good guy.
Exactly. Just weighing the pros and cons of each side of it. I think there's more pros to keep those two in your facility.
And obviously, who knows, Fox could go out and add another pit reporter and make another move, and then we look at things differently in a couple weeks' time. But given what we know now, and given what the optics are right now, not a great look.
No. I mean, I think of the best broadcasting days of the sport was Fox early 2010s, because they had a great lineup of pit reporters. I thought they were fabulous. And then ESPN had a great lineup as well.
ESPN,
I think,
man, yeah.
ESPN was probably even better than Fox, and that's saying something how good they were. Mike Massaro, Dave Burns, Dr. Jerry Punch. Like, I love that man so much. Great guy. Alan Bestwick, Dale Jarrett, Andy Petrie, all those guys. Like, and then we've got Nicole Briscoe in the studio, the ESPN pit studio, Brad Doherty and the Rusty Wallace. I mean, that was
come on.
Like, you can't match that. Like,
no.
NBC needs to take a book out of a page out of that book and replicate it, because they have the pieces in the right areas. You just got to fill it up a little bit.
It really is just fine tuning. And honestly, it's fine tuning for both Fox and NBC. When you look at the lineups that they have, you've got some strong pieces in there, but then you've got some pieces that, if you replaced it with, honestly, pretty obvious people, you would have a very different and very much better situation. So
how are they not seeing what I'm seeing is what I think. Like, am I seeing the wrong thing here or what? Because there's some guys on the sidelines that should be in the game. And it's very, very unfortunate. We're passionate about the broadcasting side of things because we care about it so much on both the presentation of it and the product itself. So it's a double whammy for us being sport media students. So that's why we get into these kind of discussions, because it matters to us. It should matter to everybody watching the sport as well. I know.
Yeah, and it's not
MRN
the focus. It's not the focus of like the casual fan. They see the news, they're like, oh, that sucks, or okay, whatever. But when you're watching every single weekend, the quality of the production matters, and that will affect whether people tune in every week or they tune into certain races or if they even return at all. I think that is a very underrated factor when it comes to these things. And yeah, Yocum's a guy that's been around for forever, and it was very, very good at his job. And hopefully he lands somewhere, because if he doesn't, I will be one angry Canadian.
All right. I hope he lands on his feet somewhere within the NASCAR industry. It will be a sad loss for the sport
Absolutely.
to lose someone as professional and well-spoken as Matt Yocum. So we'll see where he lands. Hopefully at NBC, I'm thinking it would be a great addition to their pit reporting lineup for later in the season. But if not, we'll see where Matt Yocum ends up after this off season. So that's the broadcasting side of things. And now we get into something
Is it time?
Yeah, it's time. It's very much time. I've sat on this for 2 days and it has been eating me alive. So we'll talk about it here. The JGR crew chief lineup for 2021. We've talked about this on this show on what we were hoping or anticipating. And for myself, I had my opinions with Adam Stevens staying as Kyle Busch's crew chief for 2021, despite the lack of success this season. He did get a win in the third to last race of the season at Texas Motor Speedway, and it was just a lot of bad luck, a lot of bad circumstances that fell that team's way. So I know I'm a Kyle Busch fan. I'm wearing a shirt right now. Like I understand that, but just looking at this from an outsider's point of view as well, I don't know if I'd understand the move as well if I wasn't a Kyle Busch fan, because the numbers don't really match what happened. So we'll give you who's moving at the JGR camp and who's staying put. So obviously Chris Gaypart is going to stay as Denny Hamlin's crew chief. Why would you break that duo up? An incredible season, just didn't end up with the championship at the end of the day. So they're not going anywhere. They're not separating. Kyle Busch's crew chief, we'll go in number order for the series. So Kyle Busch gets a new crew chief, and Ben Bayshore, he moves from the 20 Xfinity Series program. He crew chief Harrison Burton to two of the last three wins of their season this year. A great rookie year for Harrison Burton. Didn't quite get the playoff success that they would have hoped for, but a good season for Harrison Burton in his rookie campaign there. He was also the engineer for Kyle Busch in 2017. He filled in for 3 races with 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s in 2017, when I'm guessing Adam Stevens was suspended for some sort of actions in 2017, if I can recall. So that's the 18 side of things.
What was it, Bristol, when they had the tire fall off back then?
At Bristol in 2017, he won. He had the triple sweep there at Bristol.
There was something that would have caused it, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, Dover. Yeah, the tire.
Dover. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Dover and the stupid pedigree car. That's cursed. Yeah. The pedigree car is cursed for Kyle Busch, but we won't talk about that. So Ben Bayshore gets the promotion up from the Xfinity Series to the Cup Series. We'll talk about his stats in a little bit. James Small stays as the crew chief for Martin Truex Jr. Well, there's no surprise there. They had some really great moments, had that great streak there of top 3 finishes, top 5 finishes. I think it was like 8 straight or something crazy like
ridiculous.
That. It was just incredible. So they just didn't quite get that breakthrough win count. Had that 1 win at Martinsville earlier this season, but didn't quite have enough there to break it up, I'd say. They have the foundation in place. It can only really get better for Martin Truex Jr. Then Adam Stevens, Kyle Busch's crew chief from the past 6 seasons. He moves over to Christopher Bell's number 20 car in the Cup Series. Massive snag there for Christopher Bell, in my opinion, but we'll talk about that as well. Then we move down to the Xfinity Series. Dave Rogers will stay with the Xfinity Series program in the number 18, but gets a new driver, and Daniel Hemrick, as Riley Herbst is departing the organization and widely speculated to go to SHR, excuse me. He's going to most likely go there. Jeff Mendering stays the same with Brandon Jones in the number 19 car. Jason Ratcliffe does not end up following Christopher Bell, kind of his protege in some respects, kind of his right-hand man, and he's going to go back down to the Xfinity Series after being with the Levine Family Racing Program for the number 95 this past year, and that's unfortunate kind of loss for Christopher Bell. Has kind of been right there with them, hand in hand throughout his Xfinity days and winning so many races, and doesn't quite get that jump over back to return to JGR after being the crew chief for Matt Kenseth for many, many years when he was over at that organization as well. And then the 54 car in the Xfinity Series will make a full-time return in 2020. That was announced as Chris Gale will get the demotion from the 20 car that was Eric Jones's crew chief. He will go to the 54 car, and they will run full-time in the Xfinity Series with an all-star lineup of drivers for the Owners' Championship. So that's the outline for Joe Gibbs Racing for 2021. So lots of different moves there. I was expecting some, but I was not expecting the big one. To be honest, I still don't quite understand it. So I'll let you get your initial thoughts in here, Kyle, before I go off the rails. But what are your initial thoughts here from looking at this lineup?
I'll go kind of like bottom to top, and then when I get to the top, I'll hand things over to you.
I'll get ready.
Yeah. When I look at this, Roger staying with the 18 makes sense. Had a rough season with Riley Herbst, but I think a lot of people agree that's mainly on Herbst, and we don't really know what that 18 was necessarily capable of. We'll see what they're capable of with Daniel Hemrick there, because we know that's a guy that has been and should be a championship Ford guy, especially with somebody like Dave Rogers. So excited to see what they can do. Jones Mendering, same thing. No reason to split those guys up.
No.
One of the big winners here, I think, has got to be Harrison Burton getting a Cup Series experienced Cup Series winner and Jason Ratcliffe, who did such great things with Christopher Bell in that series. Being paired up with him is going to be huge. Had a really strong season versus expectation, I think, in the Xfinity Series. Not quite what Joe Gibbs Racing has been in the past, but I think better than people were expecting from him coming from the Truck Series when he didn't make the playoffs and didn't have a win with KBM. So excited to see what that duo can do. And Chris Gale, I don't think many people expected him to return to the 20. I think it's maybe like a reset for him to go out, see what he can do with the top guys in Xfinity, and also potentially some young guys as well, because as you mentioned, they're full-time, which probably means we'll see some Toyota development drivers in that 54 getting
it's
some shots.
It's going to be a great car next year. That's going to be really fun to watch. I'm imagining Bell's going to go back down to the Xfinity Series and run that full 5 race, and Kyle will obviously
maybe not
do
the
that.
Full 5. I don't really know what they'll go with, because we don't know what's going to happen with some other Toyota development drivers. So maybe somebody like a Ty Gibbs ends up running a few races in that. Like there's just so many. Chandler Smith might end up running some races. Even Eckes might even get some. So
give me a Lassard. That would be awesome if he
that
could
would
get
be
in
really
there.
cool to see. But yeah, given that it's full time, there's a lot of open races. Given that the maximum is 5 for Cup guys, so there's going to be a lot. I'm sorry to bring that up, but there's going to be a lot of open spots in that 33 race season there. So excited to see what Gale can do there, and kind of a reset, because it just hasn't gone very well with the 20 there with Eric Jones. But going to the Cup, yeah, Chris Gabehart back to the 11, duh. There's really nothing else to say there. James Small back to the 19 also makes sense, because going from Cole Pearn to James Small, I think a lot of people had maybe some concerns going into this year. And although they didn't have the wins, I think James Small kind of proved himself as a very capable crew chief who will set up a car good enough to compete for wins. Truex didn't have the wins and make the championship or anything like that, but a very strong season from James Small, and he'll build on that next year. And I think that they'll maybe take maybe that half step back towards winning multiple races next season with James Small. But we get to the big changes. Christopher Bell with Adam Stevens. That's fantastic for Christopher Bell, I think. And kind of sucks for Jason Ratcliffe to not end up finally making that final move back to JGR.
He's done everything right, you know what I mean? Like
he's done everything asked of him, and he doesn't get that final step.
Oh yeah.
So that's a tough pill to swallow for Ratcliffe.
Unless that's what he wanted, maybe. Unless he's looking at trying to just develop guys. I mean, he does a great job with that.
Absolutely. So yeah, if that is a factor, who knows? If not, tough one for Ratcliffe there. But for Christopher Bell, getting Adam Stevens, you can't really ask for much more than that. Getting a consistent race winner, getting a Cup Series champion as your crew chief, you can't ask for much more. And it's clear that given the struggles with the 18 car and given them wanting to make a shakeup, Christopher Bell was the guy there, just given the amount of money that Toyota's poured in. So get him a really good crew chief and see what they can do. They've got to win races next year, at least one, make the playoffs, and go from there. But with Adam Stevens there, it's time to show up in the Cup Series for Christopher Bell. Last year, you can write it off for multiple different reasons. This year, JGR and not too far removed from a Cup Series championship. So you got to perform with that. Now we get to the big one. Kyle Busch and Ben Bayshore. Before we go to you for what will be an all-time clip on the show, I don't hate the move as much as you do. I don't like the move because it does feel like change for the sake of change, but it has been a rough year and a half for Adam Stevens and Kyle Busch in terms of consistent race victories. They've got 2 victories in, the last 58 races is the stat? Something but like one of those is a championship, so that does factor in. This year was really rough, but
just a smidge, eh?
But you can point towards the lack of qualifying practice, maybe. JGR taking a step back as a whole, with the exception of Hamlin there. Like, there are reasons why you would maybe advocate for another year with Adam Stevens. The problem that I have is that this isn't a Penske situation where you switch around a bunch of veteran crew chiefs and see what sticks essentially after a down year. This is a fairly inexperienced guy going into crew chief for what should be the star of your program in Kyle Busch in his prime years. You can't waste these years of Kyle Busch. And so it's a big gamble. Bayshore has experience with Kyle Busch, but when you look at the races in Cup, I think the big one is Pocono, when he had the big decision to stay out and everybody else came down and pit and cost them the race victory there when Ryan Blaney went out and got his first victory.
Hadn't forgot about that. Thanks.
Did have a good season with Harrison Burton, but it wasn't that high-end season that JGR expects. So was that Harrison Burton not racing up to performance, or was that Bayshore, or was it a combination? I don't think that this is going to end up being like a James Small situation where lead engineer or something like that goes in, fills in, takes the place of Cole Pearn, and you don't lose too much performance. I think this is a big kind of rolling of the dice, hoping it hits big, but if it doesn't, questionable decision to say the least. And yeah, as I said earlier, feels like change for the sake of change, and I don't think that's the right move to make. Not huge on it. I would have given Stevens and Busch one more year to roll it back, and if it's another one, then you make the big change. But I'll throw it over to you so you can get things off your chest. I know you are not a fan of this, to say the least.
Give me a moment.
Here we go.
What are you thinking? I don't understand this move. Oh, my God. 2 championships in 6 seasons. I mean, this is the best crew chief Kyle's ever had. I mean, the numbers support that entirely. I have them right here. Adam Stevens' numbers in 6 seasons with Kyle Busch, roughly at 210 races in the Cup Series. With Kyle's leg injury, I didn't do the math for all that stuff. But 28 wins, okay? 96 top 5 finishes, 135 top 10s, 7,559 laps led, 2 championships for Adam Stevens with Kyle Busch. You can't ask for much more than that. Championship 4 appearances every year until this past year with the incredible circumstances that we've dealt with. I know they struggled. It was a terrible season for me. I mean, I was miserable until that win. And it drove me nuts because as I listened to the radio every weekend for Kyle, the communication from Adam Stevens, the respect from Adam Stevens to Kyle Busch and vice versa with the spotter, Tony Hirschman, is incredible. It's impeccable. It's one of the best in the Cup Series, and they're messing with this chemistry that I don't understand that needed to be messed with. 1 season removed from a championship, he gets let go of his role as the number 18 crew chief on the 1-year date. 1 year till he gets removed with Kyle Busch. How can it be? I know it was a terrible season. It was tough on every single member of that 18 team. But I would not be so upset if Kyle got a better crew chief than I think Ben Bayshore is, because Ben Bayshore has not proved to me whatsoever that he is capable of this job. When Adam Stevens was in the Xfinity Series on that consistent basis in the 54 car and crew chief Kyle, when there was no limit on the Cup Series guys going down there, they were unstoppable. Like, they were incredible together. And that's why they promoted Adam Stevens to be Kyle Busch's crew chief for the 2015 season, because they saw the success in the Xfinity Series. Let's translate that over to the Cup Series, because Kyle was struggling at that point with Dave Rogers, who I'll speak about with the numbers right here. 5 full-time seasons with Dave Rogers with Kyle Busch, 179 races, only 13 wins. So that's one less season. So that's less than half of what Adam Stevens got to produce with Kyle Busch. 62 top fives, 93 top tens, 6,075 laps led. So good laps led number in retrospect, about 1,000 laps off of the 6 seasons with Stevens. So not too bad when you have a less season than that, but not the consistency. So that promoted the change with Adam Stevens. The Steve Addington thing, I also have his numbers with Kyle Busch, 69 races there for his basically 2 full-time seasons. They gave Rogers fives, 33 top tens, 2,597 laps led, okay? There should be no argument there that Adam Stevens is the best crew chief that Kyle Busch has ever had in the Cup Series. It's not even remotely close. It's not even close, in my opinion. This has been Bayshore's numbers with Kyle Busch in the Xfinity Series in 2019 when he was the crew chief for the 54. 7 races, 4 wins, 5 top fives, 549 laps led. But that was when the Xfinity Series program at JGR was at its basically peak. It was incredible, basically unstoppable there. And I don't know. I just can't wrap my mind around 2 championships in 6 seasons, championship 4 appearances every year except this one. And then that's the final straw. Like, it makes no sense. And Kyle's keep on getting these carousels of these guys that are in the Xfinity Series and are getting promoted, and he gets the guy that's getting promoted. Granted, initially the Rogers one seemed to be okay, but that relationship definitely deteriorated, as the years went on. Stevens and him didn't really have a rough patch, I'm going to be honest. They were winning nonstop. The winningest driver of this decade is Kyle Busch. I think before this season started, Kevin Harvick may have taken that now, or Martin Truex Jr. or whatever. But he's in the top 3 100%. Like, it's not even close. Yeah. I am befuddled by this move. I cannot believe that Christopher Bell is getting a 2-time Cup Series champion crew chief in his first season at JGR. And Kyle's getting an Xfinity Series guy that won, 4 races this season with Harrison Burton? Are you kidding me? Like, he didn't win a championship. Nothing down there in the Xfinity Series. It makes no sense. No sense. I would understand the move if they had more previous success on a longer-term basis. Stevens and Kyle went in the Xfinity Series together before he got promoted. They worked together very much on a consistent basis, almost week in and week out when Kyle ran the Xfinity Series races. That's why they had such a strong relationship. Ben Bayshore only ran with Kyle 7 full-time races in the Xfinity Series, and then obviously was an engineer in the 2017 season. So there's that relationship previously. Fell short in that championship to obviously Martin Truex Jr. that year, just 1 spot short of a championship. But when I think about each year that Kyle Busch was with Adam Stevens, 2015, I think a deserving champion, despite what everybody else might say with the missing 11 races and coming back and giving a waiver and making the playoffs and winning the championship. That's a deserving championship, in my opinion. There's not really much bias in that. I don't hear an argument otherwise. 2016, put himself in a position there to win the championship. Just fell short to Carl Edwards, it seemed, in the closing laps, and everything else happened in that race, and then just didn't quite have enough at the end. 2017, probably had a better car than Martin Truex Jr. in that race. Truex just got the track position at the end of the race and did a masterful job holding off Kyle Busch in that one. So credit goes where credit is due there to Martin Truex Jr. Kyle falls short of his second championship then. 2018, 8 wins that year, the big 3. Remember, that's just 3 seasons removed. I mean,
that's crazy.
Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, nobody can stop these guys, and they fall short to Joey Logano in a one-off championship race when, in all honesty, Logano didn't deserve to win the championship that season remotely. It should have been one of the other 3 that won it. Whether that's Kyle, Truex, or Harvick, that's up to you. 2019, a Cup Series champion when it seemed like all the odds were stacked against them. The summer was terrible for them. They couldn't quite get that one win to get that consistency back. But when it mattered most, the 18 car beat Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Denny Hamlin. 3 guys that probably had the most momentum going into that. All 3 of them had won races before that championship race to Kyle Busch. So he went in there probably as the underdog and came out on top. This season is a write-off. I'm going to be honest. I mean, you can't really look at this. A big break, no practice, where the 18 car excels. That's what Adam Stevens' bread and butter is. That's what Kyle Busch's bread and butter is. Making the car better through adjustments and just having a solid base on loading and then building from that. To load off the truck is very difficult to do, and we saw that initially when we came back from the pandemic. They struggled. They had bad luck. They just didn't have the speed. And especially compared to their teammate in Denny Hamlin, specifically Martin Truex Jr. was also up there. Eric Jones is something we've talked about on the show quite a bit. So, but as the season rolled on, the 18 car found hits and misses. Texas, you think about, they ran well at both races. Kansas, they ran well at both races. Like Bristol, he's just a masterclass at Bristol. Whatever car you give Kyle Busch at Bristol, he's just going to be incredible. Those races, he did well in all of them when they had the double races and they had the practices and they had that kind of note package to go off of. They did well when they came back to the same track in all likelihood for most of the events. I can't understand this move for the life of me. 2 championships, and I think you're messing with chemistry over there. Man, this is tough. It's hard not to get emotional because I love Adam Stevens. I think he's the perfect match to Kyle Busch because they just have such a great bond, and man, it's just a tough pill to swallow. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about it. I think the numbers speak for themselves. It's been an incredible ride. It sucks.
When you look at what's happened over these seasons with Adam Stevens there, it has been the perfect match. And I think a lot of people, for a lot of Kyle Busch's tenure in NASCAR, kind of wondered, would he ever find that guy that would be able to win championships with him, that would kind of be able to kind of rein him in to a certain extent and be able to break through. And it wasn't the case with Steve Addington. It wasn't the case with Dave Rogers, but it was with Adam Stevens. And so when I look at why the decision's being made, while I can understand it, the sample size, while it's a year and a half of only 2 wins and contending for wins off and on, but not necessarily as often or winning as many as you would kind of expect for Kyle Busch. When I look at the entire tenure, and even in that year and a half, even though this year was a big drop off, still being able to go out and, as you said there, break through and get that championship there in that final race, I think showed a lot. Being able to make its way this season and still getting a win when all the cards were stacked against them and had all the reason in the world just to kind of give up on the season and go, screw it, who cares, let's go to next year. I can absolutely see that perspective of things. The one thing is, would you rather take the risk and go with somebody new and see if it works, or take the other risk, which is sticking with the status quo and maybe keeping it too long before you realize that you've wasted another season if it doesn't work out again? I think that's kind of the 2 different decisions that JGR had to battle with this season. And I think maybe they do look over at what Penske did this year and the crew chief swaps that they ended up doing and how that worked for all 3 drivers essentially improving. Obviously, Logano didn't quite have the season-long success that he did in 2019, but he made the championship 4. So that's an improvement in that regard. Blaney had season-long success better than what he had previously, and Keselowski, of course, probably should have won the championship if it wasn't for his pit crew. So when you look at that and you look at what JGR is maybe trying to do here and switching things up and improve the 20 car and kind of give things a shakeup at the 18, I can understand maybe why they want to do that there. But yeah, it does kind of feel like change for the sake of change. And given the circumstances of this year, as you mentioned there, does feel like a pretty big move to make for a year where there was no qualifying or practice to kind of go off of either.
Yeah. I hate that I cried there, but
it
means a lot to me, man. Like this is my life. So it's tough, but we'll move past it. It's just going to be fun to see what happens next season with Ben Bayshore. Hopefully he can prove me wrong. I'm going in there with low expectations, but if he can go in there and deliver, then
watch them go win the 500.
It's for the best. If he did, man, that's quite the story. But yeah, best of luck to Adam Stevens, though. I mean,
what I will say, though, finally, is the pressure's going to be on for Bayshore. They've got to show up early, and every single race that they go without a win is just more and more pressure added up because they've made this change because the 18 wasn't winning. So if he goes in there and basically does the same kind of stuff that Adam Stevens was doing or lesser even, that's going to be a bad look. And I don't think that you can do anything mid-season or anything like that if it isn't working. Depends on, obviously, if Stevens
and Bell are working
out.
You cannot double back at this point.
Yeah.
Stuck with your guns. I would have played their cards. Yeah, I would have loved to have been in the war room when they're discussing these decisions internally, just seeing what their mindset is behind it and the rationale behind this decision, because it's just leaving me a little bit lost. But I mean, I don't know if it was how much Kyle Busch had so much input into it, whether Stevens just felt like, I don't know if I can do much more or what it was, or Gibbs is just like, we just need to
change things up.
Just try something different. And if that's the case, if it came more from Joe Gibbs and it doesn't work out, this will probably be like the biggest missed opportunity in almost any years I've watched NASCAR.
Can't waste these years.
This was his one-off year. Like, he has to be back in the championship for next season and with a new crew chief. That's what it comes down to. If he falls short of that next year, we're looking at something bigger here.
Yeah.
We're looking at something bigger here. And it just sucks that Kyle's in this carousel once again when it seemed like there was no reason to break things up. And, you know, when you look at Jack Knaus and Jimmy Johnson and how long they were together, and then near the end, they just called it quits kind of thing. They knew it was best for each other to move on and try something different. I don't feel like Stevens and Kyle Busch, not to compare the two by any means, but in terms of him being the only multiple champion since Jimmy Johnson's incredible run, I think there's something to be said about that. So I don't think they considered all the options. I could be wrong on that, but I think there was more positives to go back to Adam Stevens, let him prove himself with Kyle Busch again next year, because I don't think there's any doubt that there's fight in that 18 team. And Christopher Bell's getting one heck of a crew chief, in my opinion, in Adam Stevens in his first year with JGR. So Ben Bayshore, you've got big shoes to fill, my man.
Oh, yeah,
I'm going to be entirely honest. Good luck to you, man. I'm rooting for you first off, but I'm also rooting for Adam Stevens over there with Christopher Bell. So, any final thoughts on the JGR thing so I can stop freaking crying now? We can move on to something else because I'm too tired of being this damn emotional about a freaking crew chief swap.
I fully get it from your perspective. This is the duo that finally broke through. Not just for Kyle Busch, but for Adam Stevens and for JGR. They were the duo for a long time when you look at these last few seasons. And yeah, it does kind of seem like a bit of a rash decision based off of this one season. But when you extrapolate that over the kind of summer months of 2019 when they weren't necessarily at their peak either, went out and won the championship, so it kind of glossed over that fact. But if they don't win that championship, which is kind of revisionist history, and you look at that stretch, then maybe it's more of an obvious move, but you can't ignore the championship. And this season was disappointing, but by the end of the season, they were consistently in hunts, in top fives, in top tens. And if they had that over the entire season, who knows what would have happened. But it was a rough start to the season. The ball just didn't get rolling fast enough. COVID happened, came back, just couldn't get things going quick enough, and ends up costing that duo. And fascinated to see what Bell and Stevens do next year. It has to be a major improvement over what Jones and Gale were doing to be any kind of success. And yeah, that entire stable is going to be fascinating to watch. Denny Hamlin and Chris Gabehart, can they continue the success from last year?
Good point, yeah.
Truex and Small, can they continue to improve and get back to what it was when it was Truex and Pern? And then obviously Kyle Busch and Ben Bayshore, can they find any kind of success next season? and then Bell and Stevens, can Bell match what Kyle Busch was able to do under Adam Stevens? Those are some massive shoes to fill for both Ben Bayshore and Christopher Bell. Big expectations for both of those guys going into next year, and just kind of adds even more storylines to what's going to be a crazy 2021 season.
I would have loved to have seen Ratcliffe instead of Bayshore just because of how proven he is in the Cup Series, but it is what it is now. No turning back. 2021.
Yeah, if it was up to me, what I would have done is I would have done Hamlin, Gabehart, Truex, Small. That remains the same. I would have kept Busch with Stevens for at least one more season, and I would have gone Bell and Ratcliffe with JGR. Give him that opportunity, and then reevaluate things in a year's time. Give Bayshore another season in Xfinity to see if they can break through to a championship level with Burton. Gives you another sample size of Bell with Ratcliffe. At JGR, can they improve over what the 20 was last year? Is that potentially something where if you want to switch up crew chiefs, maybe then you go with Busch and Ratcliffe, and then Stevens and Bell. Like, there's just a lot of different situations.
So many ways you could have gone about it.
Could have gone the carousel that is. I don't know if this is the one that I would have decided on, though, at the end of the day.
I would not have gotten on this carousel, I can tell you that much, if I didn't make that clear enough. So it's the end of an era for the Busch and Stevens pairing. We'll see if they ever come back again. But for right now, we've got a new crew chief on top of the pit box for the number 18 car and as well for the 20 car in the Cup Series, and going to be a fascinating Xfinity Series battle to watch as well. So that does it for the JGR Xfinity and Cup Series crew chiefs for 2021. I'm done with talking about that. I did not expect to get that emotional, but it is what it is at this point. So we'll go on to just quickly the Busch Clash eligibility here, Kyle. We'll list off some names on who's
on
looking
the
at
Daytona road course as well next year, by the way.
Who's going to finish second to Chase Elliott is the big question we're answering here. So we've got Eric Almirola, Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, Clint Boyer. We'll see if that happens. Chris Buescher, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, William Byron, Cole Custer, Matt DiBenedetto, Austin Dillon, Ty Dillon. We'll see if that happens as well. Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Eric Jones, Matt Kenseth. I don't think that's happening. Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Ryan Newman, Tyler Reddick, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Martin Truex Jr. So 24 drivers there for the Clash at the road course at Daytona.
Probably going to end up being 22.
Probably around 20, 22, somewhere around there. If they can get some rides filled out, then sure. We saw Justin Haley go into the Busch Clash earlier this year with his rain win in 2019 at Daytona. So he doesn't quite get that eligibility next year, but they've changed it up. They've lightened it up a little bit. So that expands the field a little bit. The road course at Daytona, I hope this is maybe like the last year they maybe do it for the Clash, because it's always fun to watch it on the high banks kind of as a preliminary thing for the Cup Series, just to kind of kick off speed weeks. It doesn't really feel right that they're starting on a road course and then going back to the oval, but we'll see how it does. We saw how it worked in the summer race here when they had their one-off event when they tried it, and it was okay. We talked about that on the show as well, and there's definitely something left to be desired. We'll see if when they go back and they're more comfortable with it, we can get some more aggressive driving from these guys. And Chase Elliott is the man to beat in that one. So we'll see if the defending champion, which is crazy to say, is going to be able to start the season off right with a Busch Clash win. So anybody you're looking at there, Kyle, to maybe upset Chase Elliott other than your maybe usual suspects?
Well, what's going to be interesting is the fact that Chase Elliott's going to be running the Daytona Road Course before that as well, as we expect him to run in the Rolex 24 there.
Right.
Maybe we get some other names added to that potentially from NASCAR at least. But yeah, when I look at the lineup there, Clint Bowyer almost certainly won't be in it. I would be shocked.
That would be
if
quite
he
the
is.
story in car camera. What's going on up there, Clint? Well, it's pretty loose right now, but
I also can't see Matt Kenseth in there, and so that brings it down to 22. Then, if Ty Dillon is in Cup next year, then he'd be in there. I think it's more likely at this point he's probably in Xfinity with the RCR cart. That's kind of my guess at this point. So we're looking at 21 or 22 entries for the Busch Clash, which, because it's on the road course, I get why they want to have a more expanded field, but I feel like the Busch Clash shouldn't be like 23, 24 entries. I feel like it should be more restricted than that. It should be more of a special event. You actually have to do things to get into it rather than be, okay, if you did stuff in the past or if you let it like the 60 lap mark or et cetera, you get in, that kind of thing. So, my expectations aren't super high for this event. I hope it's going to be good because I love the Daytona Road Course. I think it'll be cool being run on, I think it's a Tuesday, I think is what it is, a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So
Tuesday, then the duels, cool. And then
like that kind of stuff. But yeah, expectations are not overly high for it. I hope that it'll be a fun race. But I'm
looking forward to the duels.
If the leader gets up to a big lead, then it's kind of all she wrote because then you only have 20 some odd cars and there's not a lot of battles that you can really go out to. So, but yeah, it's if we're being honest, it's going to come down to a battle between Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., maybe Kyle Busch sneaks in there a little bit. We'll see. Because he does.
I'm not putting expectations on Bayshore for his first race like that.
Fair enough. But we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, cool to finally know at least what the lineup should be.
Yeah, that's when the season starts, man. It's only a couple months away, even though it's
okay. It's more than a couple.
Give or take. I mean, yeah, I guess so. It always feels shorter than what it is. I feel like once you get through December into the year, you're like basically a couple weeks away.
Yeah. It's not that much of a difference. It's kind of crazy.
It's a short off season. I'll say that.
Well, yeah, it is.
That's what the Busch Clash lineup could potentially look like. We'll see if some of these guys get in there for a one-off race or not. But if not, then we've got about 21 cars, it looks like, for the Busch Clash trying to stop Chase Elliott from his domination on road courses. Once again, so that's it for that one. Don't really have to talk about that too much. We can quickly also touch on the NASCAR Awards banquet that was held virtually over I think it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And they pre-recorded it, edited it all together. Obviously, they weren't able to go to Nashville for championship weekend this year. Unfortunate there. It would have been a great scene to see all the fans cheering on Chase Elliott for his first Cup Series title. Would have been quite the turnout, I'm sure. Everybody from Dawsonville, Georgia would probably make the trip up to Nashville to celebrate it with them. And it would have been a great sight to see, but that's unfortunate there for Chase Elliott to not really get to experience that full champion kind of glamour that comes along with the win and a title. So just unsurprisingly, he wins the most popular driver award. You can etch that in for the rest of his career. Basically, I don't know if anybody will ever come close to matching him on that. Justin Allgaier was the most popular driver in the Xfinity Series. I was kind of surprised by that. Yeah. I would have said Chase Briscoe for myself, based off of his storyline this season and just how well he's done. And it's just been a great year for Chase Briscoe. So Justin Allgaier, obviously a fan favorite. I wouldn't put him as mine. Like Kyle said, he probably wouldn't either, but Allgaier's a good choice. He had a great year. He's great. He's a very calming presence, I'd say, now when he does interviews and stuff. He can get a little heated at times, don't get me wrong, but he's a good spokesman for that series, the veteran of that series as well. So congrats to Justin Allgaier on that award. And then Zane Smith, obviously. We've got a great soft spot for
I was happy about that one.
Storyline, and he gets voted the most popular driver in the Truck Series. So that's basically the awards there. Obviously, the championships, they got celebrated as well. Manufacturers, they get their trophies as well. I believe Ford won the Cup Series, and then Chevrolet won Xfinity, and then I'm guessing Chevrolet won. Yeah, Chevrolet would have won trucks as well.
Certainly, yeah.
With the GMS stable really bringing it dominating for them. So exactly. So that's the championship awards banquet for those guys. And then also Jimmy Johnson receives the Bill France Award of Excellence. So just to end his career, he gets a nice award to commemorate everything that he's done for the sport, and a very well-deserved award for Jimmy Johnson there. So yeah, that basically rounds out Jimmy Johnson's NASCAR career. That the awards banquet is done, and he's led his final lap, raced his final lap in the Cup Series as well, for what it seems for the foreseeable future. So congratulations to Jimmy Johnson and all three of those drivers for their most popular driver awards, because they're very deserving. If you get voted by the fans and you've got a strong fan base behind you, you deserve the credit there. So I don't think we've saw any clips, right, Kyle, from the banquet for us?
I haven't watched any of it. It's just like a formality. Really.
Yeah, exactly. So just wanted to touch on those guys quickly there. And then we'll end the show today with the next-gen testing that has taken place over the last couple of days at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So they ran the road course on the Monday and then tested the oval yesterday throughout the day and into the night. So they've tested both packages at the Charlotte Roval and the oval. So quite the data that they've collected over the past couple of days, to say the least. Some leaving a little bit more to be desired in some respects, with some of the statements being made afterwards. But we'll touch on the bright spots. There was encouraging signs on the Roval from what the drivers were saying. Kurt Busch and Martin Truex Jr. taking part in the test, finally having some veterans in the car as well. Kurt Busch says the car ran 3 seconds faster on the Roval as well compared to the Cup Series playoff race. So,
and I'm sure they weren't pushing to like qualifying pace.
Yeah, so there's probably about a 0.5 a second left in it at least to try and push it. So interesting that the car is going faster on the road course with the sequential
lower engine power as well, because those times would have been with the 750 horsepower package for Chase Elliott's best speed at the Roval versus the engine that they ran, which I believe they said was hovering around 650. It was somewhere in between 550 and 750. So leaves room to be desired in terms of the engine horsepower, but in terms of everything else, in terms of the sequential transmission, in terms of the bigger brakes, different tires, not too shabby.
Yeah, it's very tough to get anything from the test per se. You can draw your own conclusions, but it was great to see some videos and stuff over the past couple of days, just hearing the car. It sounds great. I'll give them that. It does sound very good. Yeah. And there was definitely some off-throttle time as well on the oval. On-board camera was released today with Kurt Busch, so definitely had to let off the gas. Probably didn't have to fiddle as much with the throttle as I would have liked. It was pretty easy off for a while and then back on. You can really push the power back down. So we'll see if they make any adjustments on that. They did say, though, in a statement that was by the Senior Vice President of Racing Innovation, John Probst, this is the quote, feedback today, frankly, wasn't as good as it was on the road course. We collected a significant amount of data from the last 3 days that we'll start going through at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, aka this morning, at the R&D Center. We'll figure out what modifications we need to make. We'll enlist the help of our OEMs and teams to help us make the right decisions here as we finalize the design of this car in the next few months. So we texted a little bit about this before the show when the videos and stuff were coming out, and I saw this quote. I'm like, oh boy, please don't do this to me. I'm very skeptical on this car just because there's no reason to get this wrong, because they've had so many years to do this. They've had an extra year here to put a little bit more work into it, maybe not per se on the track, but into the development of it and put the parts and pieces in the right places. And we're coming down to crunch time here to finalize a package and have the manufacturers release a body and get the rules for 2022 in place. So they have to give the teams enough of a window here to prepare that car for that moment. And for right now, that quote is not encouraging, to say the least, to say that it wasn't as great as what they would have hoped. And obviously they had 2 cars out there at the same time for the first time as well. So they got to experience the dynamic of passing and the draft and how it handled in traffic, quote unquote. I mean, it's just 1 car, but nonetheless, there's some worrying signs and some encouraging signs, more so on the ovals, which is probably the side I would have least likely or would have least liked to have the concern on. But what are your thoughts from everything that we've seen over the past couple of days, Kyle?
I've liked, obviously, I think everyone likes, for starters, the sound. It's fantastic. You get that kind of guttural roar, which is what you want out of a race car. You want it to scare you when it starts up, essentially, and flies by. So that's good in that regard. Road course stuff, I think everyone seems very, very excited about. Everything from the transmission to the bigger suspension to the tires, the brakes, everything makes it so that road course racing will be, I think, faster and potentially more entertaining. It'll be different to drive, that's for certain. Whether it's easier or harder, I think will depend on your skill set. But I think it's going to make it so that I think a lot of the comparisons we've got so far are the V8 supercars, which makes sense because they're fantastic and their road course stuff is great, which is what they run entirely. And NASCAR should be pulling from them in terms of their road course stuff. Where they need to do stuff on their own and find the fixes is on the ovals. And sure, this test maybe didn't bring out what the perfection that people were hoping for, but I think it's the steps that need to be taken towards getting to the point where we're like, yes, this is what we want. It was the first time that they had multiple cars on track, two cars running side by side. They obviously weren't running full out, and there's a lot still to go here. It's promising to a certain extent, but as we kind of mentioned or talked about in text as well, it is starting to get down to crunch time here. They don't have a ton of time left to do things here. So they got to start getting things to work now. And so I think it was important to get this test done, both on the road course and on the oval. I think they've got a lot of stuff that they can take away with, look at, and try and make improvements for. But promising in certain respects, disappointing in others, and overall, it was a test. There's only so much you can take out of it, but it's one of the more high-profile ones that we've had to this point, where we've got a lot of footage to look at, a lot of photos to look at, and a lot of stuff to kind of scrutinize.
Yeah, for sure. NASCAR said that they hope to have manufactured bodies on track in March, so very, very soon. And it doesn't leave much time for them to make any more mistakes or have any kind of more complications with the package. So I'm going to be very, very upset. We'll talk about this when the car. We won't know officially until we see a race in 2022. But this car better be damn well good, and
it needs to be. Full stop.
Of course, it's going to be safe, right? That's the priority. But we need a good race car to provide a good product, and they've had since 2013 to kind of start to think about the next future of this car. They've had an extra year here. Just remember, we could be going into next season with this car.
We were supposed to be.
And
up until just a handful of months ago.
Yeah, before the pandemic struck, this was full on going towards a plan that this car was going to debut next season. And what a different kind of feeling it is to have that extra year here. But in all likelihood, it's not really an extra year because you have to announce it here relatively soon. And I mean, there's no excuses if this car does not perform, and it is not what we're looking for in terms of a package. And
they don't have any margin for error. Like it needs to be as good as they can make it.
Out of the park.
They need it to be something where they can bring back some of the fans that they've lost and also attract new fans. And I think that they've tried to do that with promotion, with the changes to the schedule, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, if the car isn't good enough, then the racing isn't going to be good enough. And we've seen it time and time again where oval races have been disappointing because of the car. And if it's a similar kind of thing where it's a lower horsepower engine where you're topping out at like 180, 185 on straights, and you don't really have to get out of the throttle too much in corners and stuff like that, is going to be extremely disappointing. So some promising stuff to pull from these couple of days. Road course, very excited about. Oval, sounds good. I like the off-throttle time in the corners and stuff, but we were hearing some rev limiter stuff at like 180, and that just can't be what we got going into 2022.
Nope, not that should not even be on the freaking radar.
Is a test. It is a test, and you're not going to max out a test.
The thing that really worries me here, though, their next test is December 15th and 16th, but at Daytona, they're testing out the super speedway package. That should not be their number one priority right now. Like, it
should not. But to be fair, we do currently have like the best super speedway package that we've ever had. So you don't want that to completely fall off either. They do have a lot to get to, but that should be like one of the final things they get to.
The 1.5 miles are the key here. Like, that's it.
Full stop.
Right.
Full stop.
I mean, we're in total agreement on, if this car sucks, this sport is going to look very different here in the near future. And they have to build this car.
If this car sucks, it might just be that like final dagger, quite frankly.
It might be. It could be. It very well could be. And we could see the loss of a generation here in drivers, because they're like, what am I driving here? Like, I can't drive this. Like, it's just not fun. It's very easy, and or whatever you want to say, whatever the drivers want to talk about. But there's no
reward for being a good driver right now. Essentially, I won't say no. That's extreme. I'll say not enough.
The equipment is more important than the driver. 100%.
Track position is more important than the driver.
Yeah, like. It is what it is. I mean, they had a good car with this package in 2014, in my opinion, and it's kind of.
Yep.
So, like, they had it, and then they lost it because some people were just a little bit, this one race sucked. Let's just change the whole thing. No, it was pretty damn good then. But
also, one thing that I hope is maybe a factor for the next gen car, which is a very niche thing for me at least, with the 6-speed transmission and the sequential transmission, I'm hoping that we actually have to like shift at ovals, which is something that you never have to see at 99% of tracks that NASCAR goes to for ovals. You see it in lower series at places like Gateway. We even saw it in the championship race at Phoenix for the trucks. They were shifting a little bit there with the with 2 extra gears. Maybe at some lower speed tracks where ovals that are like 1.5 miles, but maybe have slower corners or stuff like that. Maybe we get to see something like that in the future. Obviously at places like Charlotte and Texas and stuff like that, you won't be seeing any shifting once they get up to 6th, but something that I'm maybe hopeful to see, because places like Gateway, and to a lesser extent Phoenix, are kind of unique and exciting in that regard, because there's that extra component that you don't get to see at most ovals. So maybe that's something that factors in later on.
I'm still not a big fan of the one lug nut. I still don't think I can ever get on board with that. It just
I'm fine with it. Like, I don't care.
Such an excitement to pit stops, to just your.
It's also just something we're used to.
That doesn't sound as exciting, does it? Did the sound effects do it justice?
No, it's not as exciting, but it also doesn't matter all that much.
I think it like adds to the suspense that like one lug nut, we saw it with Martin Truex Jr. at Martinsville, can deny you a shot at a championship. You know what I mean? Like, it just every single thing matters. And when it comes down to whether you got one lug nut tight kind of thing on any of the 4 tires, you're like, Oh, well, we didn't get that one tight, but like he had 5 little, I think it takes away from the pit crews
Importance, definitely.
importance and their physical ability. I mean, it's just incredible what they do in that short amount of time. It's the best pit stops in all of motorsports. I won't hear any argument besides that. I mean, Formula One,
Who does?
okay, 2.5 seconds, 2 seconds, fair enough. But you've got how many freaking people right there surrounding the car with backups and everything? I mean, for 5 people to go over the wall and change 4 tires and fuel adjustments in about 12 seconds, they've trimmed it down to in this new era with the 5 members over the wall, which is insane. I remember when they had like 15 seconds to start, it was just madness. If you do that now, you're dropping like 10 spots on pit road. Like, it's incredible to see the evolution of that in just a short period of time here. But I'm skeptical on some things for the car. I'm optimistic that it's going to work out. It's just, it needs to work out for the sport, for the drivers, for the fans, and I'm hopeful that they can figure this out. We'll see how the Daytona test goes with the super speedway package. The thing is that they're not testing multiple cars there, so it's going to be hard to gauge how to get a super speedway package to work. So I think there's going to be a bit of trial and error there, as there has been with the Gen 6 car. It's taken a while to get to the point where we are now, so hopefully it doesn't take that long.
Even this year we had changes.
Exactly. So hopefully they can come out of the gate stronger with the next gen car with the super speedway, and we don't have to go 10 steps backwards before we move 1 step forward again. So yeah, we'll see how it all happens. Hopefully they do some more 1.5 tests over the off season.
They better
test the short track as well. They need to get on that ASAP. So they're running out of time, and we'll see how the test in Daytona goes in, I guess, about a month's time.
Yeah,
they have a lot of time here to
just
make
finally here for next gen stuff. The only driver that I saw tweet anything about it was Tyler Reddick, and it was something about the large spoiler, which, to be fair, is something that's an easy thing to change going into the future. But did you see anybody else tweet about it?
No. I like Kurt and Martin Truex Jr. Well, I saw Ryan Truex tweet like how's
that
the car,
was just
man?
funny. It's a race car.
It's a race car. But the thing is, Kurt and Martin were much more quieter after the oval test than they were the road course, which leads a lot of speculation, and you can kind of put words in their mouths if you want to, and read between the lines, essentially. So I hope it's not as bad as it seems, is what the quotes have been. They could be entirely putting that nicely, the quote as well that I read earlier. We'll see what happens, though. It's going to be a kind of rocky road to get to the point where we get to this car where we feel comfortable with it. And as the announcements start to flow in, we've got you covered here at the Green Flag. So any final thoughts on today's episode, Kyle? That's all the news and notes that I've got. It's been an emotional one for myself. I was not expecting that. I didn't even cry after the Texas win, but I cried after the
really
swap. So no, like in the show, I mean.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, yeah. No. Okay.
I held myself together for the show for that one because I was more happy about it. But this was more heartbreaking news. So I apologize for the emotion today for everybody watching and listening. But any final thoughts before we wrap up today?
Well, I'll just say to that point, I personally love it because it just shows how much you care. And it shows that even though we do this or started this primarily for school and stuff, because there is a certain amount of hours that we have to hit, this is genuinely something that we both care about, and obviously in different capacities. You as more of a fan of a specific driver, and then sport as a whole. Me formerly as a specific fan of a driver, but now more generally. So I think it's important to show that kind of stuff because we kind of get used to media personalities and everybody kind of being almost like status quo about stuff and being very professional and stuff like that. But
single-mindedness.
Yeah. And fans want to hear fans' perspectives, and they want people that think like them and watch the sport like them. So, hey, do not apologize, because I think it genuinely shows how much you care about the success there. But yeah, in terms of the whole episode, it's weird going into a weekend without having like any race.
Nothing to preview.
Like, there's nothing. So I don't know what I'm going to do this weekend, but I might watch some more college football or something like that. We'll see. But yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're getting real fancy now, but no. But yeah, hopefully we get some more news going into next week. I just want to know where John Hunter Nemechek's going, quite frankly. There's some weird rumors going around. I don't know what's going on.
We're not even going to mention them until it's official.
I don't want to mention them yet, but yeah, it's coming down to the end of things here in terms of finally understanding everything that's going to go on for 2021. But brainstorming ideas during the show, we've got fun stuff coming up.
I think we got some good stuff on deck.
We got some good stuff coming up. So good episode today, and yeah, looking forward to what more news comes in the coming days and weeks before we get to 2021.
Yeah, hopefully the news starts to die down a little bit. We want to have a little bit more freedom with how much we can talk about.
Knows,
we can do a little bit more
have that
fun
this
stuff.
week, and all of a sudden, geez.
Yeah, I imagine that won't come till December or so when everybody's going into holiday mode.
And then we have like 2 weeks until.
Basically, we'll see what happens with that. All the Cup guys are going on their holidays over the next couple of weeks, so well-deserved in that respect. They've had a tough year, and they've provided us some great entertainment. So we'll see what happens in 2021 with everything we've discussed today, from the schedule to the crew chief swaps and their performances, how the Busch Clash goes, and the opener of 2021. And to wrap up the 2020 season as well with the awards banquet. That season is officially behind us. We can look forward to what the season is ahead and the season after that with the next gen car as well. So make sure to go follow us on Instagram at The Green Flag. We would really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Green Flag, as well. Maybe having a Twitter account coming soon as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And if we'll see what else happens with social media. Who knows? I mean, we could. Do we start a TikTok account? Kyle can rep the Kid TikTok shirt. I don't know. We'll see what happens in that. But if it does come to that, we're going for desperate times. I'll say that. So for that, I've been Lukas Wacker. He's been Kyle Cushman. Signing off for now. We will talk to you later next week when hopefully there's some news and notes to discuss then as well. Stay safe, everybody.